And yourself?
Yeah, I'm Darren, the other motorhome. I've lived in my motorhome now for the best part of 8 years. I think this will be my 8th winter. Full-time, hence the name Urban. I used to park up here, there and everywhere. Not really fussed, but we've got quite a bit of experience between us, haven't we?
Yeah, so between us, obviously, we've got over 12 years' experience of full-time van living. But we like to sort of stress at this talk, it's not just about going full-time. There are other options. You can travel long-term in a van. Or you might just want to do an extended trip. But obviously we do have real world experience of campsites, off-grid parking, UK and Europe, travelling with pets, urban park-ups, solo, couple. So hopefully we'll cover all bases.
We should cover all bases.
Yeah. Right, let's get into it. So obviously it looks like quite a lot. Don't panic. It's not as much as it looks.
There's no quiz at the end.
There's no quiz at the end. But what we will try and do is leave a little bit of time for some questions.
Yeah, the previous unprofessionals didn't do that, did they?
I know.
Come on.
Who was in the talk before? I do wash and I don't smell. I just like to stress that, okay?
She says that.
Yeah. Oi.
Why do you think I'm this side of the stage?
Oh, mate. I did open myself up for that one. That's fair. Right. So let's get cracking. So to start with, why do you live in a motorhome, Darren?
I thought it'd just be a good idea. That was basically it. No, but it is for various reasons. Travel, and I like the flexibility of being able to move around here, there, and everywhere. Mm-hmm.
Brilliant. Yeah. So it's not all what you see on Instagram.
No.
You don't sort of have to live in a van. There's various reasons that obviously you can do it. For ourselves, it was about taking the time to enjoy our surroundings. So obviously we decided to take a gap year.
Yeah.
Oh. Normally I don't trust you with the clicker, and that's why. My bad. So yeah, it was about, for me and John, it was about taking our time, because that was the one thing that we wanted from our travel.
Yeah, because you always go on a trip and then you have to go, right, now we've got to make our way. There's always 2 or 3 days to get home.
Yes.
And you have to leave early because of that, going home. But if you've got your home with you,
yep,
you're golden.
It's always there. So, and obviously, like you said, you always got your house with you. And for some people, it's just a great stopgap.
Yeah.
Between, because that was originally what it was for us. We used to live down south, down near Portsmouth, and we'd never actually explored our own country. So for us, we sold our house. Sounds really drastic. Did a gap year, but obviously loved it so much that we decided to carry on and do it. And obviously COVID hit at the end of our first gap year. So that
wonderful times.
That was fun. So it kind of cemented, the fact that we're not ready to get another house. We just want to keep travelling, and it's become a lifestyle for us.
But some people also do it for reduce their costs, their outgoings.
Absolutely.
Either they want to save for a property or something, so they want to do this for a few years and then bundle it with travel, or they just want a cheaper way of living.
Absolutely. But what I like about it is you can tailor it to your needs. So tailor it to your lifestyle. It doesn't all have to be beach park-ups. It doesn't all have to be campsites. You can actually mix and match it.
Yeah.
As I say, to tailor it to yourself. So it's good. But it's not all free.
No. We'll get onto that.
Right. So who here is actually looking to go full-time or do long-term travel or... Yeah. Oh, okay. A few people. Yeah. Everyone else just here because it's raining. Yeah. Great. That's fine. We don't mind. Come along.
It's good.
So for those of you that obviously you're looking at a motorhome, have you got your motorhome or van, or are you still looking to choose one?
I'm getting blamed for something.
It's always his fault. Yeah. It's your fault.
My fault.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'll go with that. It's always Darren's fault. So obviously, for those of you that are looking to get your motorhome or van, campervan, but obviously...
Or even change.
Yeah. Layout.
Yeah. Layout is king, isn't it? Because now I know nothing about mechanics or anything like that, but mechanics can easily be fixed, but changing a layout that's wrong is virtually impossible in a motorhome, on a campervan. So fixing a gearbox is easy. I say easy. I couldn't do it at all.
Like you just whip the gearbox out and whip a new one in.
You just point at it and go, it's broken.
John, fix it.
Please. But yeah, layout is really, really important. You do need to consider all aspects of kind of how you're going to travel and what you're going to use it for. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And like you always say, be honest with yourself about how you're going to use your van.
Yeah, because there's this image out there that if you're going to go on a long-term trip or you're going to go traveling full-time, that you're going to, do all this wonderful stuff, be amazing, do mountain climbing and canoeing and whitewater rafting and all this and that, which is a beautiful picture, but is it honest? Really, you just want to sit on the sofa and watch Netflix? But if you go and get all that white rafting gear and store it in there, then you haven't got a nice sofa. So when you actually park up, you haven't got that sofa to sit on, which is going to annoy you.
Mm-hmm. And think about things like the external dimensions of the van as well. Obviously, ease of manoeuvring, sort of the length, the height. But what I would say is find a nice compromise. So, for example, we've always had motorhomes, haven't we?
Yep.
But we've got quite a few friends who had sort of camper vans because they thought, we can get anywhere in it. But then you have a few days like today, and we have the internal living space, and they don't. So find a compromise between the external dimensions of the van, but also your honest living space inside.
Yeah, and it's even to the things of like obviously this is a clear indication of bad weather and staying inside, but also going to the thing of if one of you or you is sick for a couple of days, you have to stay in the motorhome or in the camper or on a campsite or wherever you're parked. Are you going to go stir crazy? Can you cook without putting the bed away? Can you do this and that? Well, just thinking about them really does work.
Exactly, especially if you're sharing the van, obviously, with a partner, with pets, with children. I
share it with Alexa.
Well,
yeah, takes up no room. Does give me attitude though.
I was going to say she's quite leery though, isn't she?
It does give me attitude. Proper back chats me.
Just be honest about that. I mean, a good idea, if you can do it, if you don't already have your van, or even if you are looking to change your van, is to hire one first.
Yeah, 100%.
Come to shows like this, have a look around the various sort of layouts that are available, and then if you can, hire one for a trip. Because once you actually use it, live in it, travel in it, you might decide it doesn't work for you. We did that with our first van. We had 2 lovely bench seats. In fact, it was the baby version of your old one with the 2 bench seats.
Yeah.
And it looked amazing because we'd sit there, by the window, have a cup of coffee. But then after 3 days into a 2-week trip, we were bored of making the bed up every day. So it was like, right, that's out the window. Fixed bed it is.
Yeah.
So just do things like that.
Payload.
So with this one, does everyone know what payload is? I always forget to ask this. Excellent. So everything on your van is included in that payload. So obviously your overall running mass is water, gas, fuel, people, awnings, aircon units, bike racks.
Yeah, it really is literally everything that you carry. And when you see these motorhomes and they're advertised of how much payload they've got, they are going on like about a 75 kilo human. I don't think I fit that criteria.
You do in that first picture.
Yeah, in the first picture I do. Can we zoom it out a little bit more? But yeah, so you really have to, if you want to be carrying mountain bikes, if you want to be carrying, e-bikes or scooters or any of that whitewater rafting gear that you might want, or mountaineering gear, then you're going to have to, one, have the space for it, but also have the payload for it.
And think about things like so what we did is when we first got our motorhome, we got a Sonic A-Class, mainly for the cats because they like the dashboard, and we put everything, we weighed it empty and realised we only had like 300 kilos of payload. So we're like, you put a bit of fuel, both of us in it, we've got no payload. So we ended up upplating it, and obviously that's why I can't drive it at the moment, apart from with L plates, which everyone finds funny.
L plates.
Shut up. And John in the passenger seat. So what we then did was we completely filled the motorhome with all of our stuff, full tank of fuel, full water tank, full LPG, took it to a weighbridge so we know exactly what we run at, and that way we know that we're under.
Yeah. And then we've got power, sorry.
We've done payload.
Yeah, we've done payload.
That's good.
We've done that. Power.
And just one point as well, remember that the rear axle will have its own weight limit.
Yeah, because you had the motorbike, didn't you?
Yes, so we used to have a motorbike we used to actually carry in the garage. So obviously our overall payload was in the first van 3,850, but the rear could only handle 150 kilos. So once you've put a motorbike, 2 bikes, all your stuff, you need to really be aware of that as well. Now power. Go.
I love power. I'm a massive user of power. I think that motorhomes are about 40% at the moment. I've only been here a day and a half because I've been using quite a lot.
And you don't turn your inverter off?
No, who does that? No one does that.
Don't tell John.
But again, it's everything in the motorhome uses power. All even the blown air heating. You've got to consider how much you want to use and what your average use is.
So again, that's why it's quite good as well to, before you, I think they mentioned it in the previous talk, before you sort of worry about upgrading any power systems or anything like that, start using your van, see what you actually need to use, because you might not need a massive complex system like Darren has. You might have a simple system like I have on my micro camper, which is literally a solar panel, a lithium battery, 12 volt, don't need any electric.
And there is a few ways. Me and John spoke about this. You could go to a campsite and then not plug in, and then just see how long you last, to then see how much, how many, if you last a day or two, and then okay, I'm good for that, but I want to last 4 days, so then you can spec your system to that. But then we also did figured out if you've got a smart meter, you could plug it in between from the campsite to your motorhome, and you can see how much actual power you're using over that course of a weekend. You'd have to add a little bit on for inefficiencies with the inverter and things and that. But then again, it could, give you a clear indication of how much you are using.
And if you are sort of going full time or looking at long-term travel, just remember to think about all the different seasons and how far you're going to travel. Because again, for example, if you were traveling somewhere through the winter and you're somewhere like this where you're not moving for a few days, you're not going to get that power back by driving, and you might not be getting the solar in. So try to think about all the different seasons. It's not just going to be 100%. Sunny solar all the time. But it is possible. We all do it through the winter. You just got to get the system right. So for example, we chose to go more solar and then one lithium battery, whereas obviously you've gone slightly different.
I've gone solar, 2 lithium batteries, and then extra power banks, and two DC to DCs, and and an EV charging cable, and it's.
We use an air fryer and a coffee machine.
I just cook copious amounts of chicken wings, so that's why it's that. That's pretty much it.
Right, so downsizing and decluttering.
Oh, this is where I get bullied.
No, we just point out the facts. So again, if you are looking to, obviously we sold a house, which is quite drastic, but we knew that was the right thing for us. Whereas obviously yourself, you basically packed up your
I just
room.
moved out my mum's in a weekend and just drove off. I just put it all straight in there, from that room, straight into their 4 wheels, and just drove off. Didn't sort any of it.
How many kilos of Blu-rays were you carrying around?
13 kilos of DVDs. And they didn't even have the plastic case. That was just in a binder. So it was quite a few,
Did you have a DVD player?
I think I did, but I didn't actually use them once.
So you could do it Darren's way, which works, obviously. Or the way that we did it was work through all your stuff and then put it into 3 categories: keep, sell, donate, and then basically keep doing that over and over again until it's time to move into the van. But I think you'll agree that even once you're actually travelling or you're living in the van, you keep doing that as well, because somehow you still accumulate stuff in a van. I don't know how you do it.
And things that you think that you need and you're like, that is a great item, and it might be a great product, but then you're out on the road and then you just don't use it, or it just doesn't fit the needs for whatever you bought it for. And
so don't be afraid to chuck it,
it go.
Donate it, sell it, do whatever. Because how you travel will change as well. The jokes about the washing machines earlier, we actually used to use it, in the early days, but of course as you adapt to living on the road, travelling full time, travelling full time, you realise you don't use it, so you can get rid of it. So you might buy things now, and in a couple of years you might not need them anymore. That's absolutely fine. Just keep doing that. One thing I would say is go for one quality item over many cheap ones, because it will pay off in the long run. Like for example, our one cooking pot that John was very adamant about cost £50 from Lakeland, I think it was, but it has lasted.
Michelin star meals over there.
Oh yes, he's a very good cook actually.
There you go.
But it has lasted, and obviously it came with a guarantee, so if it ever wears out, we can actually take it back and swap it. So that was a really good investment, rather than something cheap that you have to change every so often.
And we kind of run by a 6-month rule, and we're all guilty of it. I try and run by it, and every now and again it slips. But this doesn't account for things like a drill or anything like that. But for most things, if you haven't used them in 6 months, you can replace them within a day or two, and they're about £20-25. Then get rid of them. because you haven't needed it, you haven't used them.
And the chances are it's out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
You're not going to need it again. We're not encouraging like a throwaway situation, but we're saying the likelihood is, and certainly from our experience, is if you've not used it in those 6 months. I mean, do you remember when we cleared out our storage units after 2 years? Because we used to share a storage unit. And we were wandering around like, oh yeah, I forgot about
proper
this.
like fancy dressed hats.
Sunglasses, hats. And we forgot about half the stuff that was in there. So it was like, why have I kept all this?
Yeah.
It's all gone. You know, car boots, donate it to people, all those sorts of things. And obviously, if you're going long term, I talk about storage. Think about what you're going to put in storage because it is out of sight, out of mind.
And you go back to it and you just like, I don't need that. There's a newer version now. I'm not saying again we should be, just always buying a newer version. I should really tell myself that about gadgets.
Yes.
But that's a subcategory.
That's a different talk.
That's an anomaly. But one thing with the with the things you don't use, clothes is usually a big one for people. So a real easy one to do is decide on a time frame. When you do your washing, and you hang it up, because I've got a wardrobe. I
was going to say, not everyone has a wardrobe in their van. Don't feel like you should have.
So the way I do it is if I hang them back up, I put the hangers the other way round. And then if I'm doing like a month or 2 month time frame, at the end of the 2 months, all the hangers that are still facing the correct way, I haven't used. So then I can get rid of them all. Obviously, winter coats and things like that, keep them. But because we always cycle through about 10 t-shirts and a couple of pairs of trousers.
Because you do your washing like at a laundrette, you wash and dry in the same day, so it goes back on top. So you tend to we look like we just wear the same clothes all day, every day, but you just cycle through the same few things, and then you realise you don't need all that other stuff. Yeah,
it's a good way of sorting through clothes that you don't use.
Yes. Right, so this is a big one we get asked about, budget and finance.
Well, you said it was free.
I said it's not free, actually. Instagram lied to you. It's not free. Favourite picture. This little one here. So as we said earlier, you can live this to your lifestyle. So there is no right or wrong way to travel long term, to live full time in a van. You can change it and adapt it to your budget.
Yeah, it could be as cheap or as expensive as you want, can't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
but it's definitely not free.
No, it's definitely not free. But you have got your regular costs, haven't you?
Absolutely. So the thing is to figure out how much money you do actually need every month.
Yeah.
The best way that we found to do it is to divide it down into your sort of daily, weekly costs, which are going to be your everyday costs like fuel, LPG, food, laundry. Then break down another one into your monthly and your annual stuff, which obviously is things like insurance, tax, maintenance. And remember your basic running costs, because it's not just your house, it's also your vehicle. So you're going to have insurance, tax, maintenance.
Yeah, we've all got to pay them. We don't like it, but we've all got them. We've all got them bills. And we have to remember them and include them because, like you say, it's not free, is it?
No.
But then you've got van maintenance and budgeting for unexpected items and repairs and things. Now, I don't want to scare you all, but it is, and it's a cold, hard truth, but cash does help. So I'm not telling you all need to go rob a bank now. If you are, cut me in. I'll have a little take-in. But trying to save a little pot for the unexpected. So you've got an emergency fund. So if a gearbox goes, if a clutch goes, you've got that. Because it's not if, it is a case of when. Something will go wrong on the van. I'm not trying to scare you. But having that pot of money, which can be built up over a long period of time, will give you, so much.
Give you a buffer.
Yeah, and give you a buffer, and it will save you so much stress because obviously you've got the stress of the situation, but then you don't want to go, I've now got the stress of finding money, and if you've got to pay by a credit card or something, you've now got to find somewhere that will only accept a card, so you can only go to them, whereas you can shop around with cash. So,
that's true. And it's always a good idea as well to, again, I'm not teaching them to suck eggs, but to learn basic upkeep on your van. So like checking your levels, checking your tyre pressures, things that you can do to make sure that you keep an eye on things to, obviously try and prevent anything from happening. Yeah. So that's a really good way to do it. We've left this here. Oops doodle. We've left that there. That is actually a video that you did that's quite popular on budgeting.
One of my most popular videos. I think that one's at 500,000 views now. I think they just like me crying.
Yeah, that's.
I don't know. They're just
That's my favourite part about it. Yeah.
It's just a bit mean, really.
So yeah, if you're looking for somewhere to start and to get an idea of what your running costs might be, that's actually a really good video to go and check out on his channel. Right, staying connected on the road. So of course we do this lifestyle to try and disconnect.
But to disconnect, you got to be connected to disconnect.
Yes.
Get it? Because you need to get there, don't you?
Exactly. The internet does actually play a massive part of sort of your long-term travel and living on the road. Certainly does for us, because I certainly wasn't brought up on maps and different things. No. You know, we have the convenience of sat-navs, but also with all the apps we use to find park-ups, keeping in contact with other people, getting recommendations, keeping in touch with loved ones, finding information. You need it for most things, really.
You know, you just said about maps. This is really off point here.
Go for it.
I went to the zoo the other week with my nephew and that, and my mum couldn't read a zoo map. She got lost in the zoo. She's like, don't know where we are. I do not know where we are. Can't read this map for the life of me. Cannot. And I was like, it's a zoo. There's fences everywhere. You can't get lost in a zoo.
She did.
She did.
Clearly. So you are going to need some sort of internet in your van. But again, same as with the power setup, it doesn't have to be complex. It could be as simple as you need it to be. So again, a good example is in my little micro camper, because I'm not in it all the time, but I do long-term trips.
You said do?
I know, I was waiting for you to say that.
Such a child.
I do long-term trips, and all I have is a mobile Huawei router that I top up with, I think it's Smarty or something, whenever I need it, and that does me fine.
And some people just use a hotspot.
They do.
They just hotspot. They're in the van and they just hotspot to their tablet because they don't need anything else, and that is perfectly fine if it suits your needs and does what you want. That's perfect.
Absolutely.
I've recently gone the other end because is anyone's internet signal really sucking at the moment?
All the time.
Really, it is,
all
isn't
the
it?
time.
It's just gone right downhill, isn't it? Yeah. But that's a whole nother conversation.
That's another talk.
But so I've gone to the other end because I rely on the internet and them speeds are really annoying me. I've got Starlink, which is a satellite internet. So it's a very expensive solution. It's like £85 a month. But you can stop and start it when you want, which is, but it does give me, I'm not reliant on 4G or 5G now. So again, you can go from one end of the spectrum all the way to the other, depending on your needs.
So yeah, just tailor it to what you want. Again, a good way to do it is to maybe start out with like a mobile one, keep your costs low, figure out how you use it, what you need, because if you work on the internet like we do, you're going to need internet all the time, but you might not. Don't invest until you know what you actually need. Then you'll have more chance of getting it right first or second time, and obviously you'll keep your costs down. Yeah,
exactly that. Go on.
No, you go.
Ladies
first. Ladies first, you go.
I was going to say, don't use the same network because...
Oh, so yeah, this was... that was on the bonus tips.
Yeah.
So don't use the same network provider for your Wi-Fi that you do for your phone. And I'll tell you why. So we were on a trip in Scotland and John and I still had our existing contracts from what we had in the house. Yep. So both phones and the Wi-Fi were on the 3 network. You were parked right next to us in Scotland. We had absolutely nothing, complete blackout. And you all thought we were ignoring you.
I was texting away, you coming over? Should we have dinner? What should we do?
Because the weather was bad,
blanked, so... proper cold shoulder.
I told him it was a blackout.
Like the Arctic.
Because the weather was rubbish, so we weren't outside.
No signal.
Yeah. But you still kept following us, didn't you? And obviously that was a big lesson as well, because as soon as we drove out of the next day, they all said, "Where were you?" Me and John are inside, completely oblivious. I think one of us was reading, one of us was colouring, minding our own business. And
I think you drove literally 500 metres down the road, and then your phone started going mental because it was like all
the messages on the group chat. So good tip is to not have the same network provider for your phones and your Wi-Fi, and also perhaps I think you sometimes say have a pay-as-you-go SIM if you particularly rely on internet.
Yeah, if you do really rely on the internet, you can. They sell them at the supermarkets, and they're usually about £1 a SIM, and you can have a whole load of them for every network. Just don't have a burner phone as well because you'll look well dodgy. Really dodgy. But if you turn up somewhere and you're on O2, for instance, and there is zero signal, you can pop in like a Vodafone SIM, put a tenner on it, and then you're good to go. If you want a cheaper option and still be connected just for them couple of days that you're there, or a day that you're there.
Yeah, and you've got quite a good tip about the Black Friday deals.
Yeah, so I've done it on Prime Day and I've done it on Black Friday, which Black Friday will be coming up soon. If you're not in a hurry to get a deal, like now, so wait till then, and they do SIM-only deals. So you can buy, they are UK based only, so you can't like add any extras to them if you're going to go over to Europe or anything. But you buy in a contract, some of them are 15, 18, 24 months, but you're buying it in one go. So I bought one not long ago for 3. It's an unlimited SIM, data SIM only, 24 months for £160. So that's like £6.50 a month or something. They can't up the price either, which is great. We've had that mid-contract. They're upping our prices.
Yeah.
Really good deal. Good thing to look out for.
Because then if you do go abroad and it doesn't have roaming, just either buy a local SIM when you're over there. That's what John and I did when we travelled to Europe, or buy one in advance and take it over.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely fine. Right, finding places to park. Mr. Urban Park up over here.
Yes. There's various ways. I use, a lot of people watch my videos and they think I just aimlessly drive around going, where do I go, where do I go, where do I go? The amount of times I've been told I'm wasting diesel is unreal. But I don't actually do that. I only do that for the video purposes. But there's many options. We go to campsites, pub stops. We use various apps. We're both ambassadors of Park for Night, so we use that quite a lot here and in Europe.
Absolutely. And again, no right or wrong way to do it. So it doesn't have to be on the mountains, on the beach. Sometimes it is literally an industrial estate. Sometimes it is a car park. But as long as it's safe and it's comfortable, it's somewhere
polite
to stop
and
for
legal.
the night.
That's my motto.
Exactly.
Polite and legal, and I've never had to knock.
No. Leave no trace. Be respectful.
Like you say, leaving no trace is definitely one, because we don't want to be tarred with any brushes.
Never had the knock. There's a book coming out called
There is. Never had a knock. Because everyone's going to come and knock on my door as soon as that book goes out. I know. I've already got that. And it's going to be great. Yeah.
Hopefully that'll be coming out soon.
Yeah, that will be. But we do use the internet and various things. I use Google Maps. I like to go in on Street View. So if there's somewhere, even if I'm going to a pub stop, and I found a pub, I'll zoom in, look how big the car park is. Because I don't know, with pubs, you found this, right? They're either very tiny and they can only fit one car, or they're huge.
Yeah.
They're like small towns.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
It's just no middle. There is no middle with a pub.
No.
But then I zoom in and I know, right, I can fit there. And also some pubs do, if they're really down a country lane, but they have a great car park, they might have a quite tight entrance on the country lane.
Yeah.
So with Street View, you can get in, have a little look around and go, right, I know what I'm dealing with-ish. So it really does help. Yeah,
a little bit of prior planning. And I'd say that when we use like the apps and things like that to find park ups, certainly for us, and certainly when I'm on my own, I never stay anywhere that doesn't have reviews or doesn't have a picture.
Yeah.
For that reason as well.
Yeah.
But always look at the reviews and prepare a backup park up just in case.
Yeah.
But I would say look at the reviews and perhaps tailor them to what you need. So for example, you can sleep through anything.
Yeah, if there's a park up next to a railway line, I'll be fine with that. Mm-hmm. I can sleep through a war. That doesn't mean come and rob me while I'm asleep, because I will find you.
When you wake up.
Special set of skills and all that. I will hunt you down.
So obviously don't be put off if it has low reviews. Just read those reviews and see what it is they're actually saying and why those reviews are low, because it might be that it doesn't apply to you, what people are saying.
Yeah, that wouldn't work for you because you're a light sleeper.
I'm a light sleeper.
That wouldn't work. So, if it, like you say, tailor it to yourself.
Absolutely. And perhaps if you're starting out, so when I got my own camper and obviously started going out on my own, I thought I had it all sewn up. I was like, I've been doing this for years. But actually, my confidence went down to zero because I was used to having John and the cats. So a good place to start is actually build your confidence up with like pub stops. So
100%.
I get the off-grid experience I'm used to, but somewhere that I'm okay to be. Somewhere I'm allowed to be. There's people around. And
that goes back to going, testing you if you want to go off-grid a bit more, and going back to a campsite and not plugging in, but testing your system. So that isn't a worry in your mind. The system that you've tested a few times will work. So you've got a couple of days on that. That's good. So then you've only got the park up and your area to deal with. move.
Yeah.
It's not all at once, all on your shoulders.
Exactly. You don't have to do what you did and just take your van, go drive somewhere and just do a park up.
What you mean? The first time I ever went parking, my friend aimed me at a dogging spot.
Yes, that's the one.
That was a really nice thing of them to do, wasn't it?
Mate, who needs enemies? Who needs enemies?
Yeah,
it wasn't us, by the way. It was one of your other mates. It wasn't us. We wouldn't do that.
Great way to start.
But my final point on park-ups would be to always trust your gut.
Yep.
And this goes for obviously if you're solo, but even if you're, if there's two of you, even if one of you says, I don't know if I like the feel of this, then that's fine. We won't stay there because you won't have a comfortable night's sleep. There's no point in doing it because you'll just be uncomfortable.
Alexa's usually fine with where I park.
Is she?
Yeah.
Good.
She's all right. She don't moan that much about the park ups. She moans when she ain't getting signal, hence Starlink. She's costing me £85 a month now.
She's more expensive than a girlfriend.
She's demanding.
And also just have a backup stop as well. I would say if you find a park up, find a backup once. If you do get there and for any reason you don't like it, or perhaps you stay there for a couple of hours, scope it out, and then it turns out to be not quite what you need, you've got somewhere to go.
And
no
you haven't
stress.
got to think. You just go, right, put that there. I've got that in the sat nav. Just head there, and it's just done, isn't it?
It's done, easy peasy.
Yeah.
Right.
Addresses and insurance.
Yes, this is quite a big one. So obviously nowadays most things are paperless anyway, aren't they?
Yep.
Majority of them, but you do still obviously need to have a registered address for certain documents. So when it comes to, perhaps if you are selling your house and you're not going to have your own address, when it comes to picking a registered or a care of address, just think about whose it is you're picking.
Yep. And make sure you've got to have trust between you two. Mm-hmm. But if you are going to pick someone, this is way down.
I did go slightly off piste. Sorry.
Yeah. I'll just continue. If you are going to pick someone, then make sure it's someone you trust and get them to treat your mail as their own, so they open it straight away. Because if and I know people this has happened to, wouldn't happen to us. We're angels.
Yeah,
angels.
Model drivers.
Model citizens. Yes. If you happen to get a parking ticket or a speeding ticket, you wouldn't want them to just leave your mail in a pile for 6 weeks, 8 weeks or whatever, because that will be a nice present when you get back.
I'll hold my hands up and fully admit it was actually John that did it. But we accidentally went down a bus lane. In fact, I wasn't with him.
You just threw him under the bus.
I did.
Quite literally there.
For the purposes of education. So we didn't know about it until his dad rang us up and said, I paid that fine for you. And we were like, what fine? And then John was like, I didn't drive down a bus lane, and saw the letter. There's the van in the bus lane. That's why exactly like you just said.
But if that hadn't have been opened, that would have
opened
started accruing lots of fines, and it'd have been ridiculous. So whoever you pick, make sure you trust them enough to open it up, take a photo, and then send it on to you.
Send it on, absolutely. Yeah. Obviously, there's various options. So we both use family members, but of course, you don't have to. You can use family members, friends. PO box isn't really that applicable anymore. I don't think. That's quite old now.
The DVLA get their knickers in a twist about that.
Yeah, but obviously things like boat mail and virtual UK offices, they can all offer you addresses.
Yep.
And they can offer a service as well where you pay a certain amount extra and they'll actually open your mail for you and scan it and send it to you.
Yeah.
So you avoid those sort of situations. And what I would say is, if you are sort of moving out of a house or selling a house, what we did was went paperless a few months before, so that everything was in place. We didn't leave it till the last minute.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't know who leaves things at the last minute. Don't know about that. But you now only get mail from it's junk. He just usually keeps your junk pile, right?
I love it because it's John's dad's routine.
Yeah.
He sends on our junk mail once every.
Because that's really all you get now.
That's it. That's literally all we get. It's normally club magazines and things like that. Everything else we get emailed.
And again, that goes with being online and connected whilst you're on the road. All these statements, all this stuff is available on your online accounts. Mm-hmm. So if you are out somewhere and you need a bank statement for whatever reason, you can be, anywhere and access that, which is great. You have the ability to do that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So insurance, picking the right insurance.
Insurance companies are so cute and cuddly.
Insurance.
They're lovely, lovely people.
So obviously you can have your full-time living insurance and you can also have your full-time touring insurance.
Yep.
So when we first started out, myself and John, we had full-time touring insurance because we were on the move all the time. We had somewhere we could go back to if necessary.
basically someone taking a gap year. If they've got a house, they want to go travel this country, they've just bought a motorhome, they want to take a year out, or you've just retired or something and you want to go 6 months travelling, that's what it's for, right?
Yes, absolutely. Whereas obviously since the gap year ended and we decided that, we didn't want to stop it, and our change in circumstances because obviously we didn't work during our gap year either, but obviously now we're sort of back to working and different things, we've gone for the full-time living insurance, so they obviously know that we actually live full-time in that van, and it's based on the fact that if something happened, they know we don't have a house to go back to as well.
Whereas, it's going to cost them more money.
I think it went up, ours went up again this year.
Yeah, it's cost you more money because it's going to cost them more money.
It's going to cost them more money. So there is a big difference. Obviously, tailor it to what you need, but the difference for us full-time living insurance was about 3 times as much as the full-time touring insurance.
Yeah, and we all joke about insurance companies, but honestly, just be as honest as you can with them and tell them exactly your circumstances, because these things, motorhomes, campervans, they're not cheap, and if they say if they turn around and find some little clause that you forgot to tell them, that's not a good day for anyone. No,
not at all. And just check what's included as well, sort of your breakdown cover, European cover, your contents cover, because again, when it's your house and everything's in it, whether it's for 12 months or forever, that is all your stuff, same as you would in a house.
100%. So, and then my brain just went then. That was a live blank. I don't know what happened there. It's because I've already done that point, and I was like, hang on. I
threw you off by jumping, didn't I? Yeah. Alexa, what am I talking about? So obviously we've done the pick someone you trust.
The if you're on the insurance policy, isn't it? Because someone told us this. And this doesn't apply to them all, so definitely make sure you check with your insurer. But if there's usually only when a couple are touring, is one drives, one navigates, usually, isn't it?
Traditionally, you don't necessarily do it on purpose, but you fall into that kind of routine where one of you drives and the other one will do the navigating or whatever. And
this lady told us that they were both on the policy, and I think they were in Europe, and I think he broke like an ankle, so he then couldn't drive. Now, they didn't want to repatriate because she was on the insurance, and she's fully fit and healthy and was legal to drive, but she didn't really want to. She was never really driven it, but she was quite nervous. But because she was a fully capable person to drive it, they didn't want to pay their costs to do that. So if that is a situation for you, any of yourselves, then do consider it and make sure you ask a question.
Absolutely. And I think what I would say, because this obviously happened to John and myself recently, so I'm on the insurance. I can drive obviously with him in the passenger seat, but because I don't have C1, I can't drive it without him there, because he's had his licence for over 3 years, his class 2. So do consider that. I was going to say something then, and now you've made me forget what I was going to say.
It's not just me.
That was it. So it could be with your breakdown cover as well, because we had a conversation with Motorhome Matt about it, and he actually went to a few companies, insurance companies and breakdown companies, and each of them had a different answer. So some of them said in that situation, they would take it as a special case and say, okay, if person B really can't drive or doesn't want to drive, we will come and assist. But some said, unfortunately, that's the way it is. If they're on the policy and they're able to drive, then they're expected to drive the van. So do just make sure.
Again, it's one of them things. If you don't like driving and you're not going to, realistically drive the vehicle, then I wouldn't be on the policy. Because, and I mean, if a case did happen and you're like, oh no, actually I can do this, you could ring them up and add yourself to the policy.
Exactly.
At the time of need, but you have that option, I suppose.
Absolutely. But what I would say is, if you don't normally drive, try it, practice. Get out there. I'm quite passionate about this at the moment, because I've refound my. I've started driving our A class again, and as nerve-wracking as it is, it's so satisfying. When I do complete a journey. So for all of you that don't normally do the driving, do some driving. You can absolutely do it. So, right, the last one, housekeeping.
Yep. Doing the chores, I mean, they are small vehicles and small homes to live in, but they do take a bit more time to do the housekeeping, right?
Absolutely. Things like, for example, in a house, you put your washing on, you leave it on, you go away for a couple of hours, you come back. When you're in the van, obviously you go into a laundrette, so unless you do a service wash...
Who's done a service wash? They're great, aren't they?
Do you know what?
You just, thank you, bye. And then you come back and it's all folded, it's all magic. It's just amazing.
Normally, I would actually bully you at this point for having a service wash. However, whilst John was ill and we were down in Cornwall and I was on my own in the van, and obviously I was visiting him in hospital every day, I did actually discover the magic of the service wash, and I must admit I'm converted now.
All that was code for genius. Genius. That's what it was.
No. So yeah, I must admit that is good, but it still takes time. You still have to find somewhere. You've still got to, for example, the ones that I was doing it was like I drop it in one morning and then I pick it up the next morning. So I still had a day. So obviously that's fine when you're sat still, but if you're on the move, you need to account that time.
Most of these little laundrettes are in little shopping precincts on little housing estates. So, and again, trying to get a motorhome down there or getting close to places like that can take, quite a bit of time.
Absolutely. So you just need a little bit of prior planning. So what we tend to do when we're travelling is we build in our sort of laundry, wash, empty time into like maybe staying at a campsite for a couple of days.
Yes.
So do all your chores, build it into your travels and say, right, we're going to stop there for a couple of days. We're going to get everything done before we hit the road again.
Yeah, it kills so many birds with one stone. You can recharge your batteries. You got free use of the showers. You can do all your laundry. You can empty the tanks, refill the tanks. You can stop still for a couple of days, get the motorhome back in order because, constant travel does take it out of you and the motorhome and things, Yeah,
I was just going to say that constant travel, again, don't think you have to be on the move all the time. If you want to stop somewhere for like a week or two at a time because you're enjoying it and you're chilling out, that's absolutely fine because it's very exhausting actually. It is quite tiring. And obviously depending on where you are, you might have to spend a bit of extra time actually searching. This is where the internet comes in again. Searching for facilities, places to stop.
Making things go further.
Yes, this is always the point where someone goes, prolonging your toilet cassette, because I know that's one question we get asked a lot, is where do you empty your cassette? Well, for starters, we actually prolong the life of our toilet cassette by using wee bottles. So we don't actually wee into our cassette.
Nope.
And obviously we have cats on board, so we've already got little bags for the litter.
Yep.
And just like if you're on holiday in Turkey or Greece or somewhere, we actually don't put paper in our cassette either. We bag it up and bin it.
Yep.
So again, that's a really good way because especially between two of you, a toilet cassette could be done in a day and a half.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of them jobs that we all know what we're talking about, and it is a grim job emptying that thing. So if you can empty it less, that's even better, right? Yeah. So if you can make it go further, then empty that less, that's great. And
then that way you can build it into your facilities run.
Yeah, because then if you're going to be off for 4 or 5 days off grid, and then you're going to the campsite for the weekend, then you can make that last. It just keeps you out there longer, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And again, talking about resources, redundancy and dual fuel options is a big one for us, isn't it?
Yeah, you don't need to, if you're only going to do the washing up, you don't need to put the most boilers on motorhomes and campervans are usually anywhere between 5 and 15 litres. So if you're only doing the washing up, you don't need that much water to, well, I do, I suppose. Actually, I've just looked at a dishwasher. Can't wait for that. Anyway, that's another thing. That's another time. So you don't actually need like 15 litres of water. So just boil the kettle for a litre or two of water to do the dishes and have a cuppa at the same time.
Absolutely. And then you're saving on your LPG. Yeah. But for example, again, what we've done in our motorhome and what you'll eventually have as well again, is we obviously got the Truma system that came with it, which is the blown air system. But then we've also added a diesel heater. So we've got the option of, depending where we are, if we're somewhere where there's not a lot of LPG around, then obviously we can use diesel heater. But, vice versa, if we're somewhere like Europe where the LPG is cheap and available, you have lots of it.
And that all goes back to knowing how you're going to travel. If you're going to be traveling in summer, then it's going to be completely different to traveling in the winter. Yeah. If you're going to have a lot of electricity in the summer, so then you trying to be using all that electricity to cook with, to use all this stuff. Whereas in the winter, you're not going to have as much, so you're going to be using more gas.
Exactly. Or like when we went to Scotland, and obviously the further up we got, the less and less.
More scarce it becomes. So then you rely more on the diesel heater. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to be winter travelling predominantly, then you want to look at them options. And then, for summer travel, you look at other options for electric.
Absolutely. And again, obviously, if you're in the previous talk, Matt was talking about fresh wipes and pits and bits. They're a great way to save on water because they actually work. So again, if you're trying to make your resources stretch, especially if there's two of you, things like that, like proper shower wipes, absolute game changer.
Yeah, and this is one that we didn't really think about. That someone told us about the big bag, right?
Yes. So thinking about things like if you did ever have to leave your motorhome, if it needed to go in for a repair or something happened, well, it's not like you're not going to have a suitcase or anything like that. So a good thing to do is, so for example, we have quite a big laundry bag that actually has a mono strap on it. But if we had to get out of the motorhome fairly quickly for a couple of nights, if it had to go in for a repair, we could then use that and double it up as like a stash bag to chuck our stuff in and take it with us. So little things like that to have in the van.
Otherwise,
really
you're walking down with 15 carrier bags. Going, right, can I check in, please? And they can be like, no. You might try the hotel down the road, sir. Because you're not going to look great, are you?
And one other thing, living in the van, long time travel in the van, is move your body.
Yeah.
I became such a
I'm an athlete.
Yeah.
Training for a marathon.
Have you seen that meme where the guy does the skateboard and he goes, "This is what a peak athlete body looks like, and you can't handle it"? That's you, basically.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, just remember you're in a small environment. You don't have to move more than a foot to put the kettle on, to go to the toilet, to do whatever. So do make the extra effort.
Yeah.
We try to make sure we go out for a walk every day. Like last night, everyone thought I was mad, but before bed, because it had been raining all day, I did a few laps of the site just so I felt like I'd moved my body, because it's amazing how quickly you could sit in there and not move for 2 or 3 days.
In all honesty, it is. And apparently, buying an extra 2 metre long motorhome doesn't count as extra exercise. It really doesn't, I've been told. But walking back up and down it's really added my step count. It's brought it up quite a lot. But yeah, no, do get out there and move a bit as much as you can, because it is good for the body and good for the mental health.
Good for the mind, yes.
Yes.
And yeah, I think that's it. I think we got a couple of minutes.
Yeah, we've got time for a couple of questions.
We've got a couple of minutes.
We're professionals.
We are professionals, yes. Brilliant.
Does anyone...
Hey, what's that laughing about?
Anyone have
any questions?
So, is there any questions?
Not so much as a question, just a follow-up when you were talking about whether you have the other person on the policy or not.
Yep.
A friend of mine and I went away for a week or so, and I needed to go one day to work in London. Not an issue. But when I renewed my insurance the following year and read the small print for the first time properly, because first time you sign up, you do it, and then you get the small print after you've already bought it, so you don't read it till the renewal. Turned out that because I'd left the motorhome in the care of somebody that wasn't a nominated driver, it wasn't covered.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. I'm not with them anymore. I shan't name them. I've changed companies, but just be aware that with one company,
this is great, because this is how we all learn stuff. Because
I was going to say, it's good feedback, because obviously each insurance will differ, so we can give you kind of general advice, but it's always really helpful to get feedback like that. Definitely.
And I mean, we all tick that box that we've read them terms and conditions, but they're 15 pages are boring, aren't they? And it's just no one reads them. But
guys, something I heard you say, Tash, about the inverter and turning it off.
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Does John want to answer this one? He's very passionate about it.
Here we go. More attacking.
More bullying.
Even on standby, the inverter's going to be using some power. Some inverters are better than others, and you can put them on sort of power search mode if it's like a Victron or something like that, which you use a lot less. But somebody like Darren would just leave his on 24/7. He's trying to invert nothing at the moment, I'm guessing, because he's probably got nothing on charge.
Yeah, it's probably just sitting there, burning a couple of amps.
So on a day like today, where it's really raining and we're not in the van, you would turn it off, would you?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, mine's probably burning like 3 amps an hour right now.
And
just, for nothing, just for giggles.
Because we're not getting the solar.
But then when I get in and I just plug it in, it's done. I don't have to turn it on.
Oh, no. Because it's so difficult to push a button. It's all exercise, Darren.
Great talk, guys. Really enjoyed that. Thank you. Apart from the washing and the toilet, what are the other biggest challenges that you find living full-time? Things that maybe come up over the last few years that happen and it's like, oh, not that again. What is the biggest challenges to this lifestyle?
I'd say over the last couple of years, what's like, oh, not that again, would be like you've gone to one of your previous park ups, or you see online of height barriers being installed, no parking, no overnight parking, this, that, and the other, or yellow lines being put in. I suppose that's one that's more recent over the times that I've been doing it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think actually. I think one of the challenges living all year, and again, this is probably one that John will say, is like times like this, bringing wet stuff into the van and thinking, oh, not again, everything's got wet, we've got to try and dry it, we've got to have somewhere to hang it. I'm trying to think of other things that have...
I mean, this one's not a regular one for me, but it does happen to me quite a lot. And it's when something breaks, I have no idea how to fix it. So then I am like at the mercy of everyone on the end of my phone going, please help me. How do I fix this? Nothing works.
We're like, do we answer it? No.
So, knowing where all your fuses are in the motorhome, knowing what, having spare fuses on board, things like that, to be able to kind of fix that kind of, because it's usually something simple, and having things, but just a blown fuse, 20p fuse can really ruin your day.
Yeah, we had one half of the entire motorhome go out because of two wires that had loosened over time and touched, and then we had to rip it all apart. I mean, that's quite extreme, but it's a case of how quickly it can all go.
And things like that, not knowing where to think. So I've tried to learn where all my bits are and go, right, I can go check them fuses first, I can do that myself. So things like that, but I'd say probably just the park ups and that slowly disappearing here and there, but not really, not major to the point that I can't do anymore.
No, that's fair. I mean, a good way to get around that, exactly what you've just said, is to be, if you've got someone, if you're like your van's not familiar to you yet, take videos of it, get someone to show you, so you've always, because obviously when something happens, sometimes the first, you sort of panic a bit, don't you? And you can't think clearly for the first sort of few minutes. So just have, like we've got a book, you've got all the numbers that you need for emergencies or for breakdowns, whatever. And then, videos that you've saved of how something works. That's what I did when I started going out on my own, so I could get familiar with everything in my van. So it wasn't like, oh, what do I do? Take a minute.
Yeah.
Call John.
When I sold my van to Pete, I showed him how to go, because he was my friend and all this and that. I showed him how everything works, like how to turn the boiler on, remove this cowling and all this and that. But I got him to record me, and then he's got it all. He can always call me at any point, but if he's in somewhere where he's got no signal and he's got his phone, he's got them videos, right, how did the boiler go on, or how do I get the fridge onto 12 volt again? Things like that. So, things like that, just knowing the inside outs of your van, really. Anyone else?
Just a quick one following up. What's your tips on finding water?
On finding water? I usually get it from a garage forecourt. I'll be honest, and I'll go in and ask. I'll say, I'm just about to fill up the motorhome with £1 million worth of diesel. It's the average price now, right? Can I just top up the tank? And that's the key. Top up. Don't tell them I'm taking 150 litres. Because technically I am topping up the tank. It's just 150 litres. But if I just say top up, then not many of them ever say no. And if they do, then I'll just take my £1 million to the next forecourt further down. They've usually got a tap on the side of the building. I never go to the screen wash area or the fill up area, just on the side of the building, and I'll just attach to it.
And sometimes, as part of those facilities runs, some campsites you even have to stay on. Some will offer a service where you pay sort of £5-8, and then you can go on for a few hours and fill your water, empty, and do all that. That's another way to do it without having to actually stop somewhere if you want. But please don't use cemeteries and things like that. Yeah. No.
They're too scary. Not going there.
Big wuss.
Not going there.
Yeah, please.
The amount of people that have recommended that, I'm like, I'll buy water. I'll shower in a puddle, thanks. Not going there.
You wuss.
Yeah, I am.
We'll have to call it there, I'm afraid.
Yeah, we've got to stop.
But thank you,
Tash. End it on a
End it on a, yeah.
Will you be hanging out anywhere if people want to?
Yeah.
We'll probably be hanging out just out front if anyone's got any
and
other
I've got
questions.
new stickers.
And he's got new stickers. Yes.
Hey.
Way.
And you're both